Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ruchita from TIE Delhi NCR and extremely delighted to bring to you this interesting panel with the government folks. Yesterday, we covered how Invest India, STPI, and DPIIT were supporting startups. We also had three startups share how they benefited by making use of these offerings. Today's session, we bring to you BIRAC, DST, and GEM, and three more startups who share their experiences in availing these schemes and grants. To lead this session, I invite Srikant Shastri, Business Transformation Evangelist and Charter Member at TIE Delhi NCR. He is a successful entrepreneur who built and sold two large service ventures in India and Southeast Asia. He works very closely with various government departments and is a much sought after expert on innovation and incubation. We also have today Dr. Manish Diwan, who heads strategic partnership and entrepreneurship development at BIRAC. Delighted to nurture and empower the biotech innovation ecosystem in India. Dr. Rajiv Kanpal, Joint Secretary and CFO, GEM, Department of Commerce, who prior to joining GEM was working as Director, Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, where he handled the startup ecosystem and Make in India program. Dr. Anita Gupta, scientist, DST, head NSTEDB, Government of India. She has played a significant role in horizontal and vertical growth of innovation, entrepreneurship, and startups in the country, and has been lead catalyst in establishing over 150 technology business incubators at institutions of excellence, including IITs, IIMs, NITs, and leading private universities and institutions. From the three startups, we have Dr. Sumona Karji Mishra, founder Prante Solutions, Dr. Rashna Dave, founder MicroGo LLP, Dr. Vanita Prasad, founder and director, CTO Revi Environmental Solutions. Over to you, Srikant, to take this panel.
Thank you, Ruchita. It's my pleasure and honor to host three distinguished officers from the government and three successful entrepreneurs. It has just been brought to my notice that they're all doctors and postdoctorates. I'm the only one who's not. So I'm doubly privileged to be hosting such a distinguished panel today. So welcome all of you. So I'm going to set the stage for the topic and then bring in for engaging conversations all the other panelists. One of the things that's true of India is that the early stage ecosystem on the investment side is quite different from what you see in the Western countries. One of the features, for example, is that angel and seed investors in India, they tend to be very demanding in terms of their expectations. They usually want to see customer traction in terms of revenues. If you're pre-revenue, angel and seed investors are reluctant to fund you. So in a way, their expectations are closer to what a Series A investor would have in US and Europe. So it's hard for entrepreneurs, particularly those who are creating businesses where there's a long gestation period, and particularly so if you're solving an India-specific problem that a global investor does not understand. It's in that context that the government's presence has literally been God-sent and divine. Now, both DST, which is Department of Science and Technology, and DBT, which are Department of Biotechnology, and both are part of the Ministry of Science and Technology, Government of India, have played a fantastic role over the past several years by creating two specific agencies. Dr. Anita Gupta, as Ruchita said, heads what is called NSTEDB, the National Science and Technology Entrepreneurship Development Board. And I'm going to start with her and then move on to the others. Dr. Gupta's agency has, over the years, funded 1,100 startups, helped set up 150 incubators, and provided a total funding over the years to these startups and incubators of over 1,200 crores. Now, that kind of a leg up when you offer early stage entrepreneurs in India, that is why I called it a godsend and divine. Dr. Gupta, welcome. Let me start by asking you how your agency has evolved over the years. NSTEDB was set up way back in the 1980s. But in my mind, the two key milestones that I'm aware of, the first was in the early part of the century when the technology business incubators were set up. And then more recently in 2016, when the umbrella program called Nidhi was created. And these 5 years have been the period that have been very significant in terms of the funding support provided far and wide across the country. Now, Nidhi is an umbrella program. It would be great if you could share with the audience what Nidhi is all about. How many kinds of funding schemes do you have under Nidhi? And who's eligible? What kind of a laddering is it? So, if you could provide an introduction, that would be a great way to start the conversation.
So, thank you, Mr. Shastri, and thank you, Tai, for giving me this opportunity. So, let me quickly walk you all through the kind of interventions we have taken, although the board NSTDB came into being way back 3 decades back. At that point in time, we had a very different kind of objective in mind. And I must thank the people behind the whole show were really, you can say, ahead of their times. They were quite visionary, who thought of infusing and integrating entrepreneurship with technological institutes way back, and it was sort of unheard of. Now, with 2016, when PM has steered and coined this national initiative of Startup India, Stand Up India, after having a lot of confidence in our demographic dividend, our talent pool, we have been in this business as shared by Mr. Shastri through the flagship program of technology business incubators, rolled out only to support startups with both hardware support, software support in terms of the critical business support services. And when we were in 2015, we touched upon a number of 75. But with the kind of you can say the support we got from government, the kind of significance which was really laid on the instrument like technology business incubators and the kind of activities we were nurturing in our board, our funding all got enhanced multifold. Precisely, it was sort of fivefold jump. And that's how we came with analyzing the innovation to market value chain. What are the missing pieces? How do we really factor in and come with the programs which are really a great felt need from the innovators perspective, from the translation to market perspective? And that's how our another now programs which have really been appreciated by one and all is the Prayas, Attitude Prototype, EIR as a fellowship program, which are positioned as a pre-incubation activity. And then we equipped our incubators with a sizable seed support, because we may call ourselves as a early angels. You said God sent, we are angels in a way that like we are there to support along with our fellow department DBT through Pyrex funding program. So we were there to really give them a hassle-free sort of funding when nobody is there to support them. They are at the pre-revenue stage. Innovation is not yet validated. No traction is taking place, and there's no one coming forward to support me. And there we came with the seed support. We also analyze that startups within the incubation after they graduate out, there is a critical need to fill the gap. They need some sort of a very strong and deeper engagement of mentors and hand holding and curation. So that's why we came with the accelerator program as well. So these are the some of our offerings under the Nidhi platform, and we are trying to bridge some of the key gaps which startups really do face, and there have been remarkable success. Startups through seed support have really had the follow-up funding, 5x, whatever we have invested. Even the pre-incubation programs, 70% have really translated their innovations to in this proper formal startup. So, and we are really upbeat about that now. Startups have really risen to the occasion given the call of COVID-19. 51 startups through our Kavach program are also being supported. And going forward, I think future is really, we pin a lot of hope on our innovators, incubators, all have really been, you can say, really a strong support system for Indian startups to say. Thank you.
Dr. Gupta, if I may probe a bit deeper so that the audience walks away with clarity with respect to what each scheme does. There is Nidhi Prayas, there is EIR, you mentioned seed support. Now, these three, what are the typical quantums of investment that you make? And also, if you all these investments are made via one of the incubators in the country, that's a fair statement, right? But if you can explain what are the respective amounts under each of these schemes so that startups know how to what to expect.
Yeah, so as I told you, EIR and Prayas are pre-incubation. So anyone, any individual who has some idea which addresses any pain point, has a could be translated into business proposition, can but doesn't have much clarity to go about, they can join in our EIR program, Entrepreneurship in Residence, which is currently being offered by 20 odd incubators and centrally being managed by our very prominent and you can say well-performing incubator based out of Pune, NCL Venture Center. So 30,000 is the monthly fellowship one gets and is expected by a year time frame. One is really confident about what particular business plan or what particular startup innovation they would be focusing on. So within 1 year through this fellowship, they give enough confidence. They are linked to mentors and they develop that kind of you can say some sort of understanding what is the market space, domain, competitors, and they register their startup. So this is a fellowship program. And secondly, like if an innovator is struggling with funding, where do I get funding to translate the idea into a working prototype and convert into minimum viable product? There is the Prayas program, centrally being implemented by Sign IIT Bombay, another one of the finest incubator we have. There we give funding up to 10 lakhs in a grant mode. That also is for a year's time frame, and these are the in the grant and fellowship mode. But once you formally enter, any startup enters any incubator, then there are different offerings as seed support. The instruments may be different. There's no grant. It has to be either equity based or it's a loan based. So debt and equity combination depending upon case to case. And it's a fairly structured process. All these programs are structured where there's a dedicated committee to take a call, and all our programs are announced online where one can really apply, whether it's accelerator cohort-based program. So one can really get the all information. So from the innovator startup perspective, these are offering. Seed support is actually pitched at a higher pedestal and very deserving one with the all clear needs can really aspire to get as high as 1 CR of funding under the seed support program. Then we have multiple other programs as well with connect with the public-private for larger market insights and market readiness and international market access as well.
Thank you. So you have actually schemes for every level. When you have only an idea, you have a fellowship of 30,000 rupees a month. Then you have a 10 lakh grant to take your idea into the next level. Then you have a seed support scheme. There you have equity schemes up to 1 crore of rupees. And beyond that, you have public partnership, PPP related schemes. So you actually, it's like a ladder. You can keep moving up with the help of the government's NSTEDB schemes actually. Thank you.
So one thing I wanted to add, one can really very well correlate with the value of death with a particular innovation, but I deliberately wanted to avoid because it is sometimes scary to talk about value of death. But we have tried to apportion each piece of our offerings linked to that only.
Each stage. Thank you. Dr. Diwan, I'm going to move to you next because I know you have a similar structure for your schemes for various stages of an entrepreneur's journey. But before I ask you to describe your schemes, I have a question so that entrepreneurs walk away with a clear understanding. Now, BIRAC, which is in its very name, has the term biotech. How narrowly or broadly do you define biotech? What kind of sectors and subsectors do you support? And at what kind of stages do you provide how much funding? If you can provide insight into all of these together, that would be great.
All right. Thank you, Shrikant. I think a pretty clear question. So BIRAC, Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council, is essentially to promote and cover the risk for the innovation and promote biotech companies to take that risk and dwell into innovation to develop products, technologies that can address the unmet needs. With regards to biotechnology, the biotechnical intervention is in healthcare, which includes medical devices, diagnostics, therapeutics, preventives. Uh, that involves biotech processes. You would also have agri-tech, clean energy, waste to value, and sanitation. So this is the broad spectrum that under biotechnology we try to cover. Biotechnology in particular has a little longish gestation compared to, let's say, an idea in IT sector, e-commerce, or fintech. So typically you're looking at 5 to 8 years as a gestational period, and requires access to specialized high-tech instrumentation, wet laboratory, and at the end of the day you have a physical product. So this requires different kind of access to facilities, as well as access to uh, funding, grant in aid, investment, etc., etc. So keeping that premise in mind, uh, the various schemes and provisions that BIREC has created. So it ranges from 30,000 or 50,000 per month as a fellowship for pre-incubation program, where masters and PG scholars and PhD scholars are benefited. And once they start a structured entrepreneurial journey as an entrepreneur or a initial startup to seed, so you get up to 50 lakh rupees for 18 months to reduce your idea to POC. And as you move forward in the technology readiness level from 1 to 9, so the structured funding schemes range from, as I said, like 30 or 50,000 per month to all the way up to 7 crore across different schemes, grant in aid, equity, and public-private partnerships, and moving in the private equity. There are opportunities for even large companies like which would like to conduct, let's say, clinical trials, phase 3 clinical trials. So those are also get supported, but there we don't have any cap written on it. So essentially, it promotes across the value chain from ideation, proof of concept, piloting, validation, early stage manufacturing, and going into the market. I hope I answered your question.
No, absolutely. Thank you. In fact, what is clear between what we heard from Dr. Gupta and now from you, that you really covered various stages of a startup's journey. You covered different subsectors. And for me, it's been a personal journey of discovery over the last few years to watch at close quarters what both your agencies do. And it is actually sad that bulk of the startup community outside of the tech incubators, a lot of them don't know about it. I'm sure that's true for the audiences today also. And this, for me, is one of the big statements of evidence that the government really is doing a lot in this ecosystem, and which is a good occasion point for me to bring in Dr. Rajiv Kanpal as well. Just by way of a context, and as an entrepreneur, I've seen that the government is one of the biggest buyers for a whole range of products and services. So many startups in India which dream of world dominance, they first have to dominate India. And if you want to dominate India, you'll have to do business with the government. And it's in that context that startups struggle to do business with government. And so a few years back in 2016, when the government set up GEM, or the government e-marketplace, I think that was great news. And more recently, you announced the GEM Startup Runway in 2019. So Dr. Kanpal, it's great to have you here. If you can share with the audience, how does GEM work? What does it take for startups to successfully use GEM to get a share of the government business? And what would your advice be? I think that would be a great starting point.
Thank you, Shrikantji, for having me here and giving this opportunity to talk to the audience. Me answering your question necessitates that I just give a brief background as to the context in which GEM was established by the government before I come to your specific question. So it was in August 2016 that the government e-marketplace was set up by the government as an online marketplace, and the general financial rules of the government, which are kind of an overarching set of rules which govern public procurement in the country. Rule 149 of the GFR provides that for all ministries, departments, government bodies, in respect of goods and services, procurement from GEM shall be mandatory. So that is how we derive our mandate from. Now, one of the core values of GEM when it was established, the core mandates given to GEM was that it has to be brought up as an inclusive platform. And that is the relevant point here. By inclusivity, I mean that we at GEM have a special responsibility towards, say, the niche seller segments like startups or women entrepreneurs or MSMEs, etc. And it is in this, trying to fulfill this endeavor that GEM has developed and implemented policies and business processes to facilitate the onboarding of sellers belonging to these categories in large numbers. So in case of startups, we have something like 7,650 startups which are doing business on the platform today. The Startup India program of the government, which is the nodal program for startups, has provided certain relaxation in public procurement for startups, like relaxation in prior experience, prior turnover, and also in deposition of EMD, etc., which GEM at the GEM portal through our bidding process modules, we have ensured that all these have been automated. And you would appreciate that is a big change in itself, because a bid, when it was done manually, there were so much, maybe due to lack of rules or maybe due to so much of the file being processed manually. Even when there was a rule clearly relaxing these provisions for startups, it was put in practice very infrequently. What GEM has done is that through digitization of these rules, they are now the default rules on the bidding process at the portal. Now, another thing, as you asked about the runway, what we experienced was that the typical marketplace, the GEM marketplace, is typically comprised of product catalogs, product categories, which are kind of, so to say, very watertight, rigid compartments. And this technical parameter-led approach of the marketplace was not helping the startups at all. And that is where we brainstormed, and we came to the conclusion that we need to do something else for startups. And that was how we came up with this idea of Startup Runway. So Runway is a kind of a special microsite, a dedicated page within the marketplace where all unique, innovative startups, they can come, they can look for their own categories as to which is the category they would like themselves onboarded to, and choose their own categories and start selling. So in a nutshell, what GEM has been trying to do for startups is the entire gamut of issues pertaining to startups in the ecosystem, say funding, incubation, aligning the public policies so as to improve the overall startup ecosystem, and market access. This is the last element of market access that we have been trying to provide to startups. The experience so far has been very positive. I would say we have today, as I said, about 7,600 startups on the portal who have done business of about more than 2,000 crores. So there has been a great experience, but of course there's a lot of work done, and a lot of more work which needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to come back to you for a few more details, but I want to invite a specific comment from both Dr. Gupta and Dr. Dewan. If each of you had to pick one significant startup that is a big success story, possibly on the international stage, but pick a startup which could not have made it without the kind of support that you provide, because the support you provide is fairly unique. Which name comes to your mind? It would be good to get a flavor for the kind of startups that benefit from your support. Dr. Gupta, Dr. Dewan, in whichever order, please feel free to share with us one success story each.
Maybe what comes to my mind is that BIREC came into being in 2012. And at that time, the whole idea of supporting the innovation and risk investment in the innovative ideas was there, right? And there was one proposal that came to us, and they said that they want to do 3D printing of human tissue. All right. So at that time, they started with an idea that liver tissue, that is what they would work on. The startup they founded, and it was named as Pendorum. And as we mentioned, we just talked about that there is a stepwise schemes, right, in the BIREC from point A to point B. And all these schemes were not initiated right in 2012. So we built those schemes, step by step, just like a startup learning its way from ideation to POC and henceforth. So Pendorum is one of our grantees from ideation, and it took BIG grant to begin with to convert its idea to POC. Then it followed with SIBRI grant, where the idea POC was validated. uh, then it had ACE fund investment, which is like 7 crore and up equity investment. So today the company is evaluated over 100 crore. It has also raised funding over 100 crore. I'm not saying the exact valuation because it's a public forum, but it has raised private equity over 100 crore, and they have gone into printing human cornea, human liver tissue. And like that, there are several examples. But since you asked for one, this is just a one of the cases which begin from just a humble mere idea, technically competent team, and built an IP portfolio, very strong IP portfolio, supported by the incubator network, biotech incubator network, and I think it is one of good examples. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Gupta? You're on mute. You're on mute.
I would also like to share one of a very interesting story, which has really hit upon the Time Innovations list of 2020 under parenting category. And this particular startup is founded by ex Texas Instruments and ex ISC Bangalore alumna Radhika, and her startup is Cradlewise. And the pain point which emerged was when she had a baby, and initially 5 6 months she could really find it very difficult to the child to have a sound sleep. So based on her domain expertise and the technical knowledge she had as a part of her engineering education, she quickly came out with an idea to come out with a AI driven, sensor driven cradle, which has a monitor, and when the baby in the night cries when the parents are asleep, it offers the self-rotating feature, and that's how when it comes. The crib, the punchline of that Cradlewise is the crib that comes, and she was a part of a Prayas program. When it was rolled out at that, I think the very first cycle or second cycle probably, she was the recipient of this Prayas grant of 10 lakhs, wherein she translated this very idea that smart cradle is the need of our, for especially for working mothers and parents. And we again, after this successful MVP being developed, her husband also joined in. Both are from the Texas Instruments, and then there's no looking back. The one funding stopped, another door opened of the funding. She was picked up as a part of our DST supported Women Entrepreneur Quest, and we took her to Silicon Valley, and she was smart enough. She utilized that time to really figure out and explore, do the initial customer survey whether this product has a place in the families thereout. And she could really gather strong appreciation for this very product. And as I speak, she has already relocated to Silicon Valley. The product has, the team has undergone acceleration at Hex Accelerator, which is for the manufacturing and hardware-driven devices. And as Manish has pointed out, all manufacturing and devices of these kind are typical, not really hot picks for the VCs and all. And she has scaled through and navigated through this journey in 2-3 years, and really make now she finds a spot in the Time Innovation 2020, and that has been an exciting journey.
Thank you. When I heard both of you speak, Dr. Diwan and Dr. Gupta, it sounded like proud parents who nurtured their children, seen the children grow up, go into college. Ab to shadi hone wali hai. That kind of a feeling you got actually. But
Yeah.
thank you for that. Good time for me to turn to the entrepreneurs in the group here who have been success stories in their own right. I want to ask each of these successful entrepreneurs to very briefly describe what your company does and tell us what kind of DST, DBT, NSTDB, BIRAC schemes have you benefited from, and what did it help you to achieve? If I may start with you, Rachna.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Tai, and thank you, Shrikant sir. The name of my company is called MicroGo. At MicroGo, we enable the power of micro Swachhta. We are focused on hygiene. And why we started the company is that hygiene anywhere in India or maybe globally is considered as an expense, because you don't see things, you don't see the microbes, you don't see virus, and the mentality is jo nahi dikh raha hai wo nahi hai, right? So, and it is considered an expense that kyun is pe kharcha kare. So we try to turn around. While this is so important, antiviral, hygiene is so important, how can we make hygiene, which is expense, as an investment? And any product that you use for MicroGo, it not only becomes your investment, it also provides bonus. So keeping in that mind, everything that we do revolves around this. We keep life safe, but we save essential resources. And at the same time, we digitalize. Everything that we do at hygiene, digitalized. Having said that, when we started our journey, we charted out the entire research program in two ways: low risk, early commercialization; high risk, late commercialization. So the one that were low risks, we started with bootstrapping. We had a small angel round, and that's how we started to quickly reach to the market. The idea was to, because we all are biotechnologists, we all come from a scientist background. I was not sure whether we'll have that entrepreneurial mindset, and which is extremely important even if a product is great. So that helped us to have that mindset. At the same time, the products which were high risk, that's when we came in, we took in BIG. Then we also had Sibri to the one. By the time we reached 2019, the low risk product was already doing well. We had done piloted and we have done all of that. And when 2020 set in, that's when COVID came in, and that's when our Kuosha product was something that had already passed through all the tests, and we were ready to commercialize. And that's when we took in the BIRAC COVID fund. We also got DST Kavach, ACT grant, and IKP grant, ICO IKP, to help us quickly scale up and serve the nation during, COVID times. So that's briefly what we do and how these grants and funding schemes have helped the company.
Thank you. Shomona, same question for you. Briefly tell us about your business and which schemes have helped you at what stage.
Hi, thank you, Tai, and thank you, sir. So I am Sumona. I'm founder of Prante Solutions. It's a startup from Bhubaneswar. We work on medical devices and diagnostics. So to my company, the support of the startup ecosystem, including DST, DBT, BIRAC, is tremendous. So we started with the idea itself, and during the idea, we first initially won a competition called Young Entrepreneur Scheme, which is a DBT award scheme, which later on translated as best scheme. So from there, the entrepreneurial taste we got. Then when we thought, let's do the idea that we have, whether it has a potential need assessment, at that time, DBT BIRAC SIP fellowship has helped us. It gives us 18 months time, as Dr. Anita said about the Nidhi EIR. Similarly, the BIRAC SIP fellowship gives 18 months time to find out the kind of project you want to do, the kind of product you want to develop, whether there is a need is there. So this immersion programs of 18 months, along with a small startup grant, which helps you to understand or develop the proof of concept, that helped us to reach a stage from which we went to big grant. And during this immersion program, we came up with two kind of products, where one is a high risk and one is low risk. So the high risk product was being supported by BIRAC Big Grant, and the low risk one, where it can be developed with a smaller funding, we got the fund from MSME. We got the Nidhi Prayas also, and then the BPCL Ankur grant to develop that product. While this in the big grant, the product we got, we also applied for SIBRI, and the platform that has been developed, it got patented. Both the low risk and the high risk, though, both of them, we could patent both the technologies, and DIPP helped in that, because we availed the facility of the startup portal for that. And then from this, in 2020, when the COVID came, since we have already working on the device and diagnostic platform, so our technology can be translated for the COVID diagnostic development. We have already developed the COVID RNA, the RNA isolation technology, magnetic based, which has been ICMR approved. And then we started developing the diagnostics on the basis of ELISA for direct antigen as well as antibody. And to make this product successful, the DBT COVID grant has come, and to make it upscale, DST Kavach has supported, because of which we can upscale as well as make the product in a form so that we can send it to ICMR and get the approvals.
So once again, at various stages, you access money, but the common theme I heard from you and Rachna was that the money from both the government agencies is helpful in high-risk situations, long gestation period situations. In some ways, it's patient capital. In some ways, it's gentle capital. It's not impatient and harsh like commercial venture capital, and that's the contrast. So I was not very wrong when I said it's God-sent and divine. So thanks for validating that. Dr. Vanitha, what about your experience? What do you do, and how have you accessed government funding?
Yeah, thank you, Ty, and thank you, Dr. Srikanth, for giving me this opportunity. I'm Dr. Vanitha, an environment biotechnologist, and I'm working on to this idea from my PhD itself. As a biotechnologist, I also started with diagnostic, but I found that sanitation is very important, and I have to focus on to the waste management. So from that time, I was working on to the waste management. But to start my entrepreneurial journey at the age of 40, both DBT and DST played a role. That resigning from an R&D head of an environment consultancy and starting your own startup was that trigger. DST has provided us an incubator here in the Baroda itself, and my idea has been funded as a woman scientist under the big grant. That was the trigger point to start this product. Product was there in my mind. I was knowing it, what I really want, and how to I do. So now I just tell you, because of this, both the things coming together, I started a company at the end of big grant with this Ravi Environment Solution. We are working into the clean tech space, wherein we are reducing the carbon footprints by recovering the energy from waste or wastewater. That is what we are doing, and it is very much relevant at the time of COVID, where the water scarcity is there. Water scarcity was there, but now we realize that how important the water is. So that was my starting point. And once the company has started, we demonstrated it in the lab scale using the big grant, and we had scaled it up using the SPERSH grant, which has not been mentioned. SPERSH grant is a very relevant grant for social innovations, either in the medical sector as to waste to value. So that we have used, and we have scaled up our manufacturing of these biocultures to 20 meter cube using this. And as ma'am was talking about the accelerator, I will like to talk about little bit about the accelerator programs. I could able to get that confidence that this idea will go on is because of India Innovation Challenge, which is because of Startup India. They have thrown this challenge, and we participated in, and our technology has been got awarded here. Then DST has another idea, then another challenge, that Smart 50 ideas which can change India. In that also our idea got shortlisted in the 50, and we got an incubation from IIM Calcutta. So that's how the accelerator programs helped us. With a very small amount of award money, But the money was not that important. The importance was the mentoring, hand-holding, business refining, how to handle this clean tech sector, which is very difficult. There are a lot many issues when you are, as a woman, you are entering into this sector. So that was the accelerator where they had helped. The Zone Startup is pure woman accelerator program, Empower and Powered, where they are recognizing women who are in the renewable sector. So as to go on, that these ecosystem is helping us, whatever idea we have, to bring it to actual field.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought out the benefits you got from the mentoring at the accelerator program, which are the non-financial benefits. I think the picture would have been very incomplete without that. And thank you for bringing that out. I'm going to take one thing that you told me yesterday when we were discussing over WhatsApp, and I'm going to share it with Dr. Kanpal. Rajiv ji, when Vanita and I were talking yesterday, I was asking her about whether she's used the GEM Startup Runway portal. And I figured out that there's some kind of a chicken and egg story there, because when her business team went to register on GEM, they found their category is not listed or available on GEM. But for creating a new category in the first place, 3 inquiries are required actually. Now, what comes first? Inquiries come first or you to be listed on first? So she wanted to know how to resolve that. I'm going to leave another problem with you, which someone on the chat box, as audience has sent me a message, which says GEM has started charging fees. Can that be exempted for SMEs and startups at least? So 2 questions for you, Dr. Kanpal.
Yeah, so the first question which the lady has pointed out is that they could not find the relevant category. So as I said, what we have done to solve this problem, because startups being the unique and innovative nature of product that they are, sometimes they do not, most of the times they would not conform to the typical product specification category. So what we have done of late is we give the flexibility to the startup that they can come at the regular marketplace, search the relevant categories. In case they find a relevant category, they can put themselves, they can, register themselves in that category. Otherwise, they can go through a tollgate mechanism to the startup runway, where we have some very broad kind of categories. We have about 10 categories. I would just list them for you. Advanced manufacturing, robotics, agriculture, artificial intelligence, blockchain, clean tech. So these are very broad kind of categories, and we are giving the leverage to the startup themselves to register, to show their product wherever they would like to be. Second point was made, which was about the 3 inquiries. I believe we have disposed of this system, and it has been about 2-3 months now. There are no inquiries needed. There are absolutely no inquiries needed. We only ask you whether you are a DPIIT recognized startup or you are not DPIIT recognized, and we ask you for certain details, and that is all. So there is no question of any. This practice has been discontinued. Okay. The second part was about the fees. Well, that is a difficult question to solve. It is like this: any seller, when he comes to the platform, the buyer needs a lot of comfort, because it doesn't reflect only on the startups, but as a matter, when we reviewed for all the sellers, the order fulfillment rate was not to the level that it should be. So as a mechanism, because we need to comfort the buyers. The buyers are only, you can be there on the platform all the time, but the buyer is going to buy from you only when he gets the comfort that you have the requisite quality, that you are going to fulfill your order. And for that, we have a vendor assessment program, for which there is a fee charged. Some certain segments have been exempted from this charging of this fee, but presently MSCs and startups have to pay this fee. That is a question which we are addressing. I cannot right now say whether this will be waived off or not, but yes, right now there is a fee, and this fee, I would say that this, if you are really willing to do serious business on the platform, this gives a lot of assurance to the buyer. And this is something which is shown through our data. Vendor assessed SLers are bagging much more orders than non-vendor assist. That's what my perspective is.
Dr. Kanpal, you'll be glad to know that Dr. Rashna Dave, who's on this call, has done some business with GEM, and it's a small amount, but I think hopefully it's a good start. So you have one happy startup on this platform. Hopefully she will get more inspiration to do a lot more business. I want to come back to Dr. Gupta and Dr. Dewan to ask you, this is a global forum today, TiE Global Summit. Would you like to use this forum to make any big announcement about your future plans, new schemes or whatever, so that this audience has the privilege to hear that from you directly?
So actually we have been deliberating on most of our programs were tailored to suit the needs of the startups who are getting formally and physically incubated inside the incubator. So now with virtual and with the power of digitization, which we have seen, which has taken roots and which has become a new normal for us. So we are deliberating within our department what could be the version 2 of our offerings in terms, whether it's an Nidhi 2.0. How do we really bring a hybrid model which takes into account both the digital way of mentoring and this hybrid model? How should it look like? We are still really contemplating, which is doable, which could be effective and impactful in the post-COVID era. So that is high on our agenda, and how to really engage the industry in terms of as global, the market access, be it a domestic, regional or global, because as a part of being Atmanirbhar India, we have to really focus on that piece also. How do you really figure out the products which are meeting the India specific needs, so they are solving problems of India, but at the same time, the products which are at high end, emerging domains, and of the same quality and the caliber which can serve the global markets, so make for the world. So how do you really come out with such programs where we could have connect with the global mentors as well, global market access? So these are the typical three pieces, and we'll also be making a good attempt to have a much more structured and dedicated programs, which one of the, I think Vanita has highlighted about the Empower. These are all supported Power, Empower, but at a better scale, and you can say in terms of the numbers also, so that we could impact a larger subset of women entrepreneurs. Currently, they are really a fraction of it, which we are targeting because of limited size of funding we have. So, but everything will be with better speed, scale, and skills going forward for us.
I'm glad to hear that you're thinking of programs to help Indian startups going global, because Indian startups are getting ambitious. The fact that you're going to keep pace with that is great news. Dr. Dewan, any exciting plans from your side?
I think the startup ecosystem itself is very exciting.
Okay.
So we need to keep pace with it. And to do so, I think the biotech ecosystem has really evolved over past 7-8 years. We now have about 3,500 plus startups in the biotech domain. And we are anticipating by 2024-25, it would increase to 10,000. So in order to cater to that ecosystem, there are a couple of things that need to be done. One is that the startups which are maturing from ideation to POC and sitting with MVPs, minimal viable prototypes, they need to be facilitated, and their journey need to be fast forwarded. For that, what we are working on is building technology clusters very close to these knowledge clusters, which are housing academia incubation system, right? So that the nurturing of ideas are happening. So the technology clusters would be common facilities which would help startups to move from POC to pilot. We are calling them technology propellers, and from pilot to early stage manufacturing. So we are calling them manufacturing zones. This would help a startup to move quickly for validation and then get into early stage manufacturing. See, unless they show validation, they are not able to attract enough interest from the private equity. And moment these facilitations are done, they will make the startups stay competitive and agile and quick to market. So that's one. Second is, when we are seeing a growth in the ecosystem, we must ensure a continuous pipeline also at the base of the pyramid. So we are expanding that biotech ecosystem in the country by also engaging undergraduate students too. So something to look forward is e-Yuva fellows scheme and e-Yuva centers. These would be the pre-incubation activities and to inculcate a culture of entrepreneurship in the biotech sector. So that will be rolled out and maybe people can look out for that. Third piece, since you brought about the global facilitation, I think it is critical that we provide these networks and platforms where startups from India can actually reflect the uniqueness of their frugal, affordable solution, yet globally competent to address not only India's unmet need, but wherever possible, the unmet need for outside India market too.
Okay.
So one such opportunity is like global platforms, global international connects. Global Bio India 2021. We are we are planning that it to be in the end of February or early March. So something for all startups, entrepreneurs, aspirants, incubator, and the entire biotech ecosystem. Last year we had about 30 countries participating. So this year it will be virtual and will be extended in a much broader format. So maybe something to look forward. Thank you.
Great. Rachna, Shumona, and Vanita, if you had a wish list for Dr. Diwan, Dr. Gupta, or Dr. Kanpal about how they could help you better, if you had one wish each, what would that be? Start with you, Shumona. Either for Dr. Kanpal or Dr. Gupta or Dr. Diwan.
So, so there is a once your product is developed, so from a MVP to the complete product, there is a huge gap is there. So and to the commercialization. So this is the gap where for the hand holding for the commercialization part, though GEM is there, but some products where may not go to the government directly. You need to fall into the distributor channel or to the customers directly. So there is no support as such to build up your manufacturing facility, because it's always you can't be with the incubator or a manufacturing. You have to build your own also. So there is beside that TDB loan, there is, I don't think there is some support which can help you to make your manufacturing facility.
Okay. So for you to scale up and do your own manufacturing,
Yeah.
you think there is a scheme that is missing. I'll not try and get a response now. We'll kind of address that offline with them, but noted your wish. What about you, Rachna?
So I can kind of think little, I have a different viewpoint. Whatever support that we're getting from the ecosystem, that's fantastic. And as an entrepreneur, I feel it is always upon us. Everything has to be upon us. So I am kind of that satisfied person. Jo mil raha hai, that is super. Or jo nahi mil raha hai, khud dhondo. Kind of that. So
okay,
yeah.
Great. That's a good attitude to take as well. Dr. Vanita?
So I will again say, like Simona was mentioning, same way I have to have my own manufacturing setup. And very important is commercialization. In the commercialization, when we are needing, it's money part, which is very important, because we have right now we are struggling to get our own commercial setup. If I have to be lucky enough with Rajiv ji, and I have checked today itself onto the GEM platform, if I get that thing and the tune at which GEM portal will give me one order, I will not be able to survive, because I cannot supply it. I can't manufacture it. So that is the gap there. We have a marketplace now. Luckily or unluckily, I could not able to avail an order from there. But that is the gap we have to really see, that if that idea gets validated, how fast it can scale up to really serve the customers. That is very important, both in terms of money as well as mentoring. Like there are a lot many inquiries from African countries, developing countries for this particular biocultures. I can supply, but what are the rules? What are the license? How I should go ahead? Those things are very much important for us to understand before venturing into any other market.
Understood. So common themes, quickly get responses from any one of you, Dr. Gupta, Dr. Kanpal, Dr.
Yeah,
Devan.
Simona,
Manufacturing and mentoring.
I think any innovation, any solution has a market in the country, other developing countries, say Africa and all. We run a program in collaboration. It's a multi-partner program with DFID, DFID. I think whether you have heard of Millennium Alliance or not. So it targets sustainable UN Sustainable Development Goals, and we do facilitate access to other developing country markets if it has got. So that's one thing, and even specifically targeting a couple of the African countries like Rwanda, Ethiopia, we already embarked on these programs. And I think you should really access, currently India-Rwanda program is on hold because of multiple reasons, but as soon as it gets really flagged off for the second cycle, you should really reach out to these programs. These are already in place. You have to simply plug into these platforms to avail the kind of rapid scaling, because I do agree, now is the time, having developed a considerable network of incubators, we need to consolidate our offerings. How do you really, from the startup perspective, really, how do you further help them out to rapidly accelerate the transition from MVP to market? And so all those hurdles and hazards and roadblocks need to be really ironed out in the kind of experience we had got in the Kavach. I think Mr. Shastri would also really appreciate it. Was the sheer power of collaboration, right networks at the right time, which enables a couple of our startups to really rapidly scale the journey which could have otherwise taken minimum a year or 2 years time frame to hit the market. So if it can be done, given the criticality of time and clear sense of purpose, why not for others? So while DST is sector agnostic, I think we are open for all, but only right set of collaborative efforts will only enable you to accelerate.
So we're in the final 1.5 minutes. I want to ask the three entrepreneurs, would any of you have a word of advice to other startups on how to access government schemes or GEM? Any word, one sentence or two sentences of advice, any one of you?
May I?
Go ahead.
Yeah. So what I would advise is keep your focus, and the grants has specific, each of this grant has specific requirement. So while you are writing your proposal, you should understand that and write accordingly. It should not be that it's my idea and I should write whether it is matching the mandate or not, because then it becomes difficult for the grant agency. Even though your idea is good, it might be suitable for some other grant. So when choosing which grant you are applying, you should also look for what is the mandate of that particular grant and apply accordingly. Otherwise, when you get rejected, you get disheartened because you thought your idea is great, but the funding agency has not funded you.
Great advice, Shomona.
To add on to,
yeah, go ahead.
To add on to Simona, I will say that try to leverage the mentoring support is given by big partners and all of them for writing the grant. So if you take help of these mentors, they will refine the idea and will be presented in much more effective manner. Agreed. If you are applying it, as Simona mentioned, in the right call. Great. But big is not having, most of the time it is very open to all sorts. So you can write, but you have to read very thoroughly what that question is asking you about your product.
Thank you, Dr. Vanitha, Dr. Shomona. Great advice. All of you, great experience sharing. I'm sure everyone's walked away well informed after the session. Pleasure hosting all of you, and thank one of you for calling me a doctor in the course of the session. I just got promoted as well. So thank you for that. On that happy note, have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you. Good evening all.
Good evening, and thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.